Okay, everyone. Hi, it's Miss Nikki Ann. I know I said I'd do a post, and so here I am with my Mickey Mouse rings. Okay, dysautonomia. Let's see. Recently, I've had, 3 surgeries because of some problems that I had that we didn't quite know what was going on. And so in June, I got really sick, just like all of a sudden. And test after test, nothing was showing up. Maybe like, oh, you have a urinary tract infection or something like that. But the symptoms persist. And I remembered, was it 2 years ago even? When the situation when they were going to take out the old port and put in a new port. And I got really sick. And there was just something about that procedure. I just feel like I never bounced back the same. And at the time, my GI said he thought it was sepsis. And so that was then. And now we're here, I'll just say 2 years. 2 years later. And these crazy symptoms, the same feelings, and some added feelings like a ripping pain from my spine to my brain. And so it took a few months, and it was June, July, August, September, October. Okay, it took a while. And so finally, we did get some x-rays and CAT scans, a few CAT scans back. And there was showing some problems with my lungs. And so my primary care decided to go in the direction of a thoracic surgeon. And she did all the things that a thoracic surgeon does. And indeed, there were things in my lungs and nodules, and she wanted to get right to removing and trying to figure out what it was, this alien matter that was in there. And so I had the surgery. I was supposed to stay in the hospital a few days, but due to my issues with dysautonomia, because it seemed as if maybe this particular thing was not connected to my dysautonomia. And so I'm in the hospital after the surgery, should be there a few days, but I just was not receiving the care that it takes to stay as healthy as possible with my dysautonomia situation. And what was brewing was the perfect storm. And so this is just on the first day. My nurse didn't come for 3 hours. I mean, literally, I stayed only overnight, but it felt like a week. And so my thoracic surgeon, understanding, she came the next day, day after the surgery in the morning, and decided that yes, with my mom and I, we probably could better tend to my body than, staying in the hospital. And so now remember, these are all just tests. I still have not received any sort of diagnosis. It is now September, and I got sick in June. People sick, violently ill. And so at some point, after she got out, my primary care talked to her, and they wanted to go the route of a infectious disease doctor. And so the information, and it took a week, which my thoracic surgeon was upset about because she didn't feel I had a week. And also my GI was concerned, like, you need these things immediately, okay? And some miscommunication because my doctor, my primary care, he was relocating. And so I think a lot of things just got lost in translation there. So a week after that surgery, to remove the nodules and test things, I got a call from a infectious disease doctor. who had been looking at my CAT scan and x-rays, and it was like, I need for you to come to the hospital, the emergency room, and I need for you to come now so that we can have you admitted. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. And he did say, because he's like, that's the best way to do it. All of a sudden, he just starts talking about, because we can take your port out, which I know you need, and then within 48 hours, we can put a new one in. Now, I don't know. This is my first time talking to this guy. It's a Saturday, he called me. And I'm like, okay. So I kind of reluctantly get my stuff together because I'd already had a bad stay at the same hospital. And I was there at the ER waiting, and just strange things began to happen. Doctors coming and saying things about my poor, and I don't know, all this craziness. And all I wanted was I let them know, like he said, let them know that, I sent you and that I'll be there, and they'll call me or whatever. Well, that didn't happen. Meanwhile, I've got crazy and more crazy coming my way. And I'm like, now a few hours have passed, and I'm in need of a lot of things for my dysautonomia. So I'm like, okay, I got to get home. These people are going to kill me. And so we're trying to explain to the doctors that I know this is a big deal, but you're going to make it worse if my dysautonomia is not tended to. They had me signing the paper like, ma'am, you could die. I'm like, yeah, I know. Okay, but I got to go home. And so I had to sign that, to release myself, knowing that it could come to my death. And then there was one doctor I was finally able to get her to comprehend. And then, they were like, we really want you to stay. If we could get you, earlier, we can, but it's just there's not the room yet. Exactly. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to run any more tests that everybody just ran. Okay. Just had surgery. And so, yeah. I'm trying to think. Right. And so all of a sudden, here he comes, the infectious disease doctor. And this is my first time meeting him. I just spoke to him some hours before. I know nothing about this guy. And he's saying again, we got to get that port out, and all this stuff. I'm like, no, I have to go home. I said, already, I'm seeing that this would not be a good thing. It's, you guys, it's not possible for you to be able to give me what I get at home. And I said, if you hadn't offered he had offered, like on the phone, like we could do it outpatient, but it would take a lot. I was like, you said it, we could. And so I'm going to take the option of could. And I explained to the other doctors, if he hadn't said we could, I would have stayed. But he said we could take the other route. And my mom and I thought it was the safest. And then I realized he knew nothing about my condition, my illnesses, nothing. He was just like, I have a port. Like, the first thing you should do is like, why do you have this port? Okay? He knew nothing. It's like he didn't read the files. He must have he saw the CAT scans and must have got in the results from the biopsy and got nervous because there was, a matter in there. There was, come on, everybody, aspiration. I was aspirating, but I've been telling people that for like 2 years from the first. I'm like, I choke on everything, choke on my spit. Everything's going the wrong way. Here we are 2 years later now. Okay, yeah, we officially see it. But like I told him, I opted to go home. And I think that gave him some time over the weekend to really look at it. I mean, he called me early Monday and wanted to get the port out. And I had already been on like this 4 antibiotics. They were trying to find the one that fit. And they finally did. They found one that fit exactly what was happening. And it's been a slow process. They took out the port. The PICC line did not work well for me. And so I had visiting home nurses so as well. So she came by and took the PICC out, and he's like, "What are you going to do?" I said, I'll suffer and I'll be bedridden until we get that port back in. And when I said that, we were in his office and he looked like we were serious. Like, I'll just be bedridden. What else can I do? And so he also had an echo done just in case anything had messed with the heart and all this other stuff. Okay, so in the end, people, last week I had my port replaced. And the guy who he did a fabulous job. I would like that I was awake and to be able to. I have some other issues, people, because I keloid, and so I have this scar tissue. That there's so much that we're getting to the point where there won't be anything left at the chest portion. He had problems getting this one in and trying to find. I mean, my chest, people, now looks like chopped meat. That's how bad I keloid. So there's some things to consider there, but the port's in. I'm still taking antibiotics, which I will for some time. And here we are. That is the short version. Let's note that I now have added a thoracic surgeon, and an infectious disease doctor, and need to see something or another. Yeah, I don't know. People. The list of specialists is long, and I'm trying my hardest to stay out of doctors' offices, because once it begins and everyone wants to run a test but you know this story. And when I was in the hospital after the lung biopsy, I was in the room with this older woman. She had diabetes or something, and she kept telling them, "I'm going home in the morning, 10 a.m. I don't care what you do. I'm going home." Everybody just laughed it off. They didn't think she was serious. I'm telling you, at 8, she began putting her stuff together. And she sat there. And they're like, "Well, we need to do this." She's like, you guys can't do for me what I can do at home. You guys aren't doing it the right way. You're going to make me sicker. And her strength in standing up for her body, I was like, wow. And that really gave me, I called my mom, like, I got to get out of here. There were some other things that happened because they weren't giving me I need Benadryl like around the clock, IV push. The people had stopped my fentanyl, which didn't make sense from the drip from the surgery. The nurse stopped it. She could never quite explain why it was not supposed to be stopped. My surgeon said the next day. And you not only that, you're supposed to be Advil 800, Benadryl, what's the name of the pain? Fentanyl. I can't today. Phenolin. And And that was another reason why she's like, yeah, you're safer at home. They can't, And so I got my patch. She should have never stopped my drip. People, I went for hours with no pain meds. That's how bad the stay was. And I said to the nurse, how can you treat a human being like this? And then they were calling on her on the intercom for a long time. She never did answer anyone. She never could be found. Then I was having some problems to where I just push my Benadryl 50 milligrams through, and it just, the twitching, all this, it just slows everything down and quiets the body. I was going through all this while waiting for her. So then I said, you know what? You still don't have the Benadryl hours later? I said, I don't want you to be my nurse anymore. Send someone else. And I'm going to push through my Benadryl. Because if not, you're creating the perfect storm now. And so I pushed it through. And then that triggered, people coming, closing the curtains. And they were basically asking me to give them my medications. I didn't say anything. I told that nurse I always carry IV, Benadryl, and Zofran. Who told you I had anything else? And she's looking at my bag. So I put the bag in my bed. I'm like, what is she? They were losing it. People, this was still the same night. It was the worst hospital stay ever. And so the nurse I had the next morning, finally in the morning, they gave me the Benadryl push and the Advil 600. People, I was in pain. Now all I'm on is Advil, no, 600, yes, 600. Still in pain. Was hooked up to the bag that, I'm having a hard time thinking, all the juices from the surgery, the type of bag I'm talking about, the drainage. And catheter in there. I was in absolute pain, and I couldn't find any help. The next morning, a sane nurse came, and she was like, of course, it's listed here. Just like, no, your drip wasn't supposed to be stopped. Everything that the one girl did, the nurse in the morning told me the opposite was supposed to have been done. So, yeah. Yeah, and she said, I'll tell you the truth. If I were you, I would have done the same thing. You're not going to sit here and let yourself, go into a full attack of some sort because you're not receiving good care. She said, I would have done the same. And that made me feel good. The doctor agreeing, maybe everyone agreed. So I felt like, you never want them putting anything into your file. Like patient was not doing such the protocol of whatever. But, yeah, it was so bad that even when there were no restrictions on my diet. That morning, the next morning, the same nurse told me, so yeah, you have no dietary restrictions. I don't know why you're getting cream of wheat and stuff. She said, you know what? We have the best cheeseburger. Do you want me to order you a cheeseburger? This is in the morning. I'm like, yes, please. People, when the burger came, it was on a plate, very beautifully dressed. There was the bun. It was open face, so the bun and the bottom were open and facing up. Lettuce, tomato, no hamburger. You get that? There's no burger in between the buns. And when they delivered it, they delivered with such pride, like, look at here. And, by then, we were like, we're getting out of here anyhow. It doesn't matter. It does, but that's how bad it was, to where I get a burger and it comes up with no meat. So, so my lady friend in the room, my roommate, she left on the nose, and I did the same. I became as fierce with leaving as she was, unapologetic about what I need to do. And since then, I've dealt with the situation like that. And that's why I got my port back in faster. I just began to be more aggressive, unapologetically so. I always try to be like tiptoe around things when it comes to my health, because these people are dealing with my body. So, you don't want anyone to be upset like she was and not give me my meds. It's real. So my advice to people, I've been running a 103 temperature since June. Let's just put, and I can't stand up. I can't. So I want you to understand how bad it was. I was close to the 104. I've been at the 104 a couple of years ago, but still, that didn't mean I was ready for the hospital. With dysautonomia and rare illnesses and things that people don't understand, you have to advocate strong for yourselves. And that I was good at. But, the in-hospital thing, that's a struggle. That's a struggle when you're tied up to things and you got to undo all of it. I couldn't get the catheter out by myself. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't just hop up and go. So, yeah. Sometimes you're safer at home with someone if you have someone to tend to you. And even visiting nurses sometimes can be dangerous. That's the way I'm going to put that, people. You have to know your body best. Know the law of the land about you and your body and how it is yours. You got to know the law. You got to know your body. And you got to just try to stay alive. People try to stay alive out there as you navigate the healthcare industry. Let's call it the health fear industry. And yeah, that's the short version. There's a lot more that's been happening with my health and stuff, but I get to the point now I'm like, I've made a lot of videos and something like this, when I've gained different doctors, I like to pass on the wisdom, and still got my implants, my stimulators in my butt cheeks, and yeah, just passing on the wisdom so that someone else might be able to navigate the waters better and tend to their own bodies better, and not let people take advantage of our bodies like as if we don't live in them. All right, that's it. Try to be good, be patient, and be in the moment. Because when it comes to chronic illness, all we can do sometimes is be in the moment.